Tonight's project, I've got a DC power station that takes Ego 56-volt batteries. This was an old chainsaw that I got for 20 bucks, thought I could fix it, couldn't fix it. So I saved the body because I thought it would make a good platform for a power station because it has such a nice mount for the battery, and it really holds it secure, it can't pop out, and it's got nice beefy terminals on it. So I just gutted everything on the inside, and all I've got left is a positive negative terminal. Positive negative goes to this DC to DC buck converter, which looks like this. That changes the voltage down to 24 volts. And it does it pretty efficiently. I measured 95.6% efficiency when I was testing it on the Ryobi 40 volt batteries, and I got 96% efficiency when I tested it on this setup with 100 watts of load on it. So it's going to be something like 95 to 96% efficient in that conversion. When I had a 100 watt load on it, I also got about 1% voltage drop on the 24 volt side, and then maybe 0.5% voltage drop on the 56 volt side in addition to that. So you're going to lose 5-6% before you even get here, and that's fine. Then once you get here, you got 24 volts coming in, and it's going to buck that down to 20 volts in this case to make the PD100 output. This has got PD100 output times 2, and this is PD30 times 2, which is actually a 12 volt output. So it's going to have to buck from 24 down to 12. So and every time you have those conversions, you have a little bit of loss. But that overall is not too bad. And also, this system has a very low standby power. So I put this one has a separate switch. So if you're not using this one, you can turn it off. And this one is just a cigarette plug. So I can choose from a variety of different adapters. This one is about 20 bucks, came from Temu. But it's a special one because it has PD100 times 2, and it can actually do it, although it's more like 95 watts times 2. It can do it. It can put them out both at the same time, and it has a low standby power. And you can see I wrote that down on here. That's 10 milliamps on 12 volt input and 8 milliamps on a 24 volt input. So that gives you some idea what the standby power is on this thing just by being plugged in. Also, I added a voltmeter on a separate switch. It's a completely separate circuit from the main circuit. This is a switch for the main circuit. And the idea here is just that the voltmeter is great to keep an eye on things, and having it on a separate circuit so you don't have to pay for the overhead power. If you're just charging stuff, you don't need to be looking at it the whole time. You can click that off. This gives you a lot of control over your standby power to keep that under control, because let's say you just wanted to charge like a cell phone or something. You don't want to fire up a whole bunch of standby power. This thing will do it for about, I think, depending on which one of these you would use, it would be about 0.8 watts of standby power. It also would be really good for charging drone batteries. This is a Vada 2 cradle, charges by USB-C, and this one takes roughly 16 volts. So if you charge from here on the PD30, it'll max out at 30 watts, and this is maximum output at 12 volts. So it would have to boost it from 12 to 16. If you use this one, it's going to have to buck from 20 volts down to 16, which is fine. And I've also got one that's a PD35 like this that puts out 20 volts on the USB-C. So that's perfect for like limiting your charge speed on your Vada 2 batteries if you want to. So if you use the 7.5 amp hour battery, the actual watt hour capacity is something like 380, and that's if you calculate the nominal voltage, which is about 51, times 3.6 or 3.65 volts per cell. With 14 in series, you get about 51 volts. So you take 51 volts times 7.5 amp hours, you get about 380 watt hours of capacity out of it. And for the 5 amp hour, that works out to like 250. And then for the 2.5 amp hour, which is what I have in here, that's about 128. And it's lighter, obviously, when you use the smaller battery. It's going to be lighter in the hand. And this is pretty bulky, but I kind of like the idea of having the handle on it. In order to get the holes, I used a 1 1/8 hole saw, and that gave me the perfect size for these adapters. And of course, you can choose different adapters. I can always change this because I just have slide connectors on the back, same size hole, 1 1/8, and you can choose different ones. Some of them will have voltmeters on them and a variety of different USB choices. And obviously, you can change adapters because of the cigarette plug, or you could get rid of the cigarette plug completely and just put another one of these on. It'll screw right in. All kinds of different options you can do. In order to get the switches to have a nice hole, I use this type of drill bit, this like step drill bit, and on this rigid drill gives you really fine control, and made a nice perfect hole for the switches. I didn't even really measure it precisely. I just kind of increased the size of the hole until I got it perfect. And then on the back side, I actually used a little bit of glue I used a glue gun to get the back of this just perfectly sealed up tight so it can't move around. So if I had an imperfect fit, like this one was just a little bit loose when I pushed on it, the switch, so I used a little bit of glue gun on the back of it to get it to hold steady inside there, and that worked out really good. I also used these little Wago lever nuts on the inside to help me distribute the power. And one thing I might add that I haven't done yet is the XT60 connector. I use this is my little Cobalt version that I made. 24 volt Cobalt batteries are really good because they have the right voltage for these USB adapters. Because if you're going to basically buck from 24 volts down to 20 for a PD100, that's a pretty efficient conversion. So I added this XT60 connector directly to the positive negative terminals. This is just a gutted charge station for a Cobalt 24 volt battery. And I'd like to do the same thing here. I might consider doing that. Maybe like right here on the front. Perfect spot for it. Anyway, it took me about half a day, so it was definitely a labor of love, but it's something I've been wanting to do. I wanted to be able to use, I have a lot of these batteries, so I wanted to build something where I could actually use them for that if I ever wanted to. You could use these for all kinds of things, like charging a dead battery. You could put a DC to DC adjustable power converter in there if you wanted to make it have the ability to charge a variety of different batteries. But it's actually a little bit tight in space already, so I didn't want to add something bulky like that. It would be a pretty good size, and you would want to be able to see the screen and adjust the adjustments on it. So that might be something better off to be external. So if that's the case, I could put an XT60 that connects directly to the 56 volt terminals and put that here or somewhere. That way I'd have actually the battery's underneath this section, but I could put another XT60 down here maybe, or somewhere in this area that gives you direct access to the 56 volt terminals. And then you could use that for a custom charger. If you wanted to, you could charge any kind of lithium battery and LiFePO4 battery. And so here it is in action. I'm going to put a little power meter on this, and we're going to charge up this battery. It's got a PD100 in out port on it. And you can see the actual readings right on real time here. It's going to ramp up. This is from the snow blower. This is a Snow Joe snow blower that was 24 volt. It's a 24 volt battery, which again is really perfect for these PD100 ports. I assume that's why they put that on there. And you got a nice stable 90 something watts coming out of there. And I have tested both at once, and it works just fine using both at once on this little adapter. I'll put links in the description to this little guy. And this one was a Temu $20 job. And of course the 24 volt converter that can take a 60 volt input that's inside there. And if you guys are interested in this one too, this is pretty cool. This little PD30x2. It's a nice doodad. Looks like this on the other side. Just comes with a threaded body and a circular washer that you can screw in nice and tight. And takes that 12 volt to 24 volt input. And it can take up to 30 volts, which is good if you have like a 24 volt lithium iron phosphate, because those things can get up to 29.2 volts when they're fully charged. So these adapters can take that if you hook them in directly. All right, guys, thanks for watching. You got any questions or suggestions or any similar projects, let me know in the comments. Thank you.